Howdy, pilgrims. We are back after a brief hiatus, and we could not be more excited to keep the good times rolling with some exciting companies in the news for this week's dose of Venture Pill.
Yes, sir. Great to be back in the stew with you, partner. Some people like to call it the Dio, but
No, nobody does.
that's okay. Good to be back. First up, we have a breakdown on Decagon, the leader in enterprise customer support AI, which just announced a $65 million Series B led by Bain Capital Ventures.
Next, you'll hear about Abridge, a startup reportedly raising a $250 million funding round to automate clinical documentation using AI. So keeping the AI train rolling on this week's dose, saving healthcare providers time and reducing administrative burdens.
Yep. Lastly, rounding it out, we will get into Joby, an EVOTL or electric vertical takeoff and landing company, which just announced an additional $500 million in funding from Toyota.
Great to be back in the saddle with you, partner. Fired up for this week's dose. Here we go. Let's get into it.
Here we go.
You see here, kid, you gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump.
This is Venture Pill, your weekly dose of startups and venture capital. We break down recent startups in the news and interview founders and investors to help you stay informed in the evolving world of venture.
First up this week, we have Decagon, which just announced a $65 million Series B led by Bain Capital Ventures. The round also included participation from Elad Gil, Excel, and a few others. This brings their total funding raised to $100 million, and their valuation has reportedly quadrupled in a matter of months. So congrats to the team on that. That's some impressive milestones there. Decagon is the leader in AI customer support agents. And in such a competitive space that is AI in general, as you know, if you've listened to the show, you keep your eyes and ears out to what's happening in the tech scene. AI is all you will see or hear about. But if you zoom in a little bit, you also have quite a crowded collection of startups tackling specifically customer support using AI.
Yeah, no, definitely a saturated niche application for AI. And so with that, how is a company going to differentiate in the space to the tune of a $65 million Series B? And that's what we're going to get into. Decagon's differentiator is a truly comprehensive solution that allows teams to run much more efficiently and more lean, managing customer interactions from start to end, including functionalities like fetching data, taking actions, and reviewing conversations. On top of that, Decagon can even surface voice of customer insights and use them to constantly improve its performance. So essentially an agent that keeps training itself. And so their customer base is already quite impressive, with notable companies like Rippling, ClassPass, Substack, and of course, Built, a multiple-time Pillfolio company that we've spotlighted. It has earned its place in the Mount Rushmore of venture pill startups. And actually piggybacking off of Built, we think a quote from the VP of CS at Built sums it up quite nicely. Working with Decagon was like hiring 65 agents overnight. We get 60,000 tickets per month. 70% of those are being handled by Decagon's AI agents. Our monthly savings is hundreds of thousands of dollars. Our agent teams become much stronger. The ones we retain are real product experts.
Yeah, talk about a raving review and a testimonial. Saving hundreds of thousands of dollars per month, that's pretty good ROI. So, you don't need to look much further. And for other certain customers, the company is handling millions of conversations a year and achieving 90% resolution. So,
Wow.
I think each of us has had maybe too many interactions with AI agents, but this seems to be, a scenario where they're cracking the code and really allowing customers to get to that resolution. If they can get to it, then I don't think they care, how it goes, whether it's with a human or not. And with that, I think it's important to address the jobs component and the replacement of those jobs. And Jesse Zhang, their CEO, put it nicely in the following quote: AI is often seen as destroying jobs, but at Decagon, we believe the opposite. Our AI agents are enhancing jobs, not replacing them. In a few years, every company will have AI agents running their customer experiences. Customer support staff are no longer fielding routine tasks, and they are now becoming AI managers, configuring, training, and overseeing the AI agents that handle repetitive work. End quote there.
Yeah, it's a reassuring quote, but you and I were riffing about this when we were doing some prep for this show. Both this quote and the quote from the VP at Built, while they say that AI is not destroying jobs, it's enhancing jobs, I can't help but feel a little skeptical, right? Like reading between the lines here. If you have an AI agent that can essentially replace a team of 60 agents, you're not going to promote all 60 of those agents to become managers of those AI bots. Like maybe you'll keep 5 to 10 of the team just to be that human component. But if you have the AI team taking care of a lot of the administrative routine tasks, you don't necessarily need that much of a human workforce. So a little bit concerning. I mean, not to necessarily knock what Decagon is working on here, but can't help but be a little skeptical. Like these quotes are mentioning that they're empowering people, and it really feels like, I don't know, a lot of people that are in the customer service agent business might be getting disrupted by Decagon and others in the space.
Well, no, we're not doubting the effectiveness and just the impressive business and product that Decagon has built. And I think it's in his best interest, Jesse's, to say something like this. And I do believe he believes it, but in reality, yeah, we're taking away jobs in the short term, and those people that have been typically support specialists or whatever their job title is are going to have to find a way to either elevate or move into a more human needed area, and that might take a little bit longer and be at a different company or in a different industry. So it's not like a flip of the switch that these people are going to be displaced and find something else. It's going to take a little bit. There's going to be those growing pains, but over the course of decades and hundreds of years, we've seen massive transformational shifts in the way people work. And
it's true.
People end up finding stuff. It's just those personal stories that you'll hear that make you scared about AI coming, and it's going to affect people, but in the long term, it will smooth out, right?
It's true. Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's definitely truth in Jesse Zhang's quote about how every company will have AI agents running their customer experiences. I think you see a lot of companies, large and relatively small or startup level, already are implementing these AI agents. And I mean, you and I more anecdotally or on a personal level, like you and I are both generally, sales, customer facing employees. And I definitely leverage AI a lot with the intention of making me more efficient and being able to spend more time doing more value add tasks per se,
right.
Or for lack of a better way of saying it, I guess. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. This feels like all the paranoid people, my dad included, who were concerned about the rise of AI. This feels like it's finally really like here on our front doorsteps.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And the funding is really going to fuel their growth here in growing their engineering team, accelerating go-to-market strategy, and empowering the company to expand into new verticals and introduce additional modalities like voice. So becoming even more human-like, which is even scarier to the folks like your dad.
Baby. Yeah, to me too. No, but I mean, we'll keep our opinions on the side here. Objectively, for Decagon, the startup, exciting growth, $65 million Series B, Bain Capital Ventures, Elad Gil on the cap table. At the end of the day, this is capitalism, right? These are businesses that are making business decisions. And from that perspective, have to love what Decagon's doing here in the early going and excited to see where the future takes them. All right. And that's actually a pretty perfect segue into our next startup for this week's dose,
Abridged.
Which is Abridged. Yes, perfectly abridging the first company with our second company here. So if you didn't get it, this startup is named Abridge, which is a healthcare AI startup and is reportedly raising a $250 million funding round at a $2.5 billion pre-money valuation. 2.5 unicorns, partner. It's been a while.
Oh, yeah.
And this announcement comes just a few months after they raised $150 million in Series C funding. That round was led by Lightspeed Venture Partners, which at the time valued the company at $850 million. So in just a few months, they have more than 2x their valuation. This round was co-led by IVP and Elad Gil, once again, with participation from Capital G, which is Alphabet's growth investment arm. Now that we've mentioned Elad Gil twice, let's give a little bit more background on him. For those who may not know, Elad is a prolific investor who's invested in companies like Airbnb, Coinbase, Stripe, and countless other household names. So safe to say he brings strong expertise in the investing space. And, if he's investing in a company, he probably has strong conviction in their ability to generate returns, change the world, and maybe go public one day.
Yeah, those are some big ones right there. Some of the biggest success stories in recent Silicon Valley history, to name a few. A little bit more on the company here. Abridge was founded in 2019 by Shiv Rao, a practicing cardiologist at the time. And Abridge aims to alleviate the time-consuming process of clinical documentation. We've talked about this in previous episodes, and I know your mom is excited about a company like this. And I'll let you talk about that. But the Pittsburgh-based startup employs AI to automate the creation of electronic health records, or EHRs. The platform records doctor-patient conversations, transcribes them, and drafts detailed medical notes for physicians to review and refine as needed, saving considerable time. And Rao explained that when he was first pitching the platform, doctors spend roughly 2 hours every day, typically outside of regular working hours. So 2 hours really each night, typing notes up that summarize what was discussed with their patients that day. And this additional administrative work has long contributed to physician burnout.
Yeah, I feel like we've covered startups that have a similar idea of alleviating back-end administrative tasks and allowing healthcare providers to focus on the more, patient-facing, higher-value activities like actually checking in with them and helping provide care. But this one's a little bit more unique in the sense that, first of all, the founder is a practicing cardiologist, so he has undoubtedly felt the wrath of the time-consuming process of documenting all of your appointments. And yeah, as you noted, my mom will be delighted about this one. Definitely see her spend a couple hours every night just catching up on those notes, right? When you're a doctor and you're bouncing from patient to patient, you don't necessarily have time to flesh out all of your notes from your conversation. And typically that means you have to spend some time after you've finished your day just catching up on your notes. So a really cool company, and I think it'll resonate with some of our best listeners. But a little bit more on the product. Abridge's AI tool addresses this pain point by automating up to 91% of note-taking tasks, saving healthcare professionals potentially approximately 70 hours each month, which is hard to really put a price on that. That's an incredible amount of time saved and less burnout costs as a result as well. Most notably, I imagine most healthcare professionals that might be listening might be wondering about this one. So Abridge's tool is integrated with Epic, which is a leading EHR system, and the solution is also accessible through a mobile app, allowing for smooth, seamless transition between transcription and EHR updates. And just a little bit more on how the product works. Abridge is recording in the background, so a physician can focus entirely on the patient without having to worry about filling out specific fields in the medical record during the visit or just anything regarding their notes. Again, they can be fully focused on the patient and helping them to the best of their abilities.
Yeah, it's a great solution. And yeah, Epic, one of the biggest private companies, I think, in the world, based out of Madison, Wisconsin. If anybody graduates from Wisconsin and they stay in Madison, it's probably because they're working there. But yeah, a great partnership, a great product. And their differentiation is important here, right? Documentation in healthcare is certainly becoming increasingly competitive, with several other startups raising significant capital in the space. For example, Suki AI raised $70 million in Series D funding just 2 weeks ago. Other competitors include Microsoft-owned Nuance, Ambience Healthcare, and many others. That said, Abridge's platform differentiates itself by supporting multiple languages and a broad range of medical specialties, which helps position it as a leading solution for various healthcare providers. That's huge.
Yeah, I think that differentiator is really what brings it leaps and bounds above the rest, right? If you're a hospital or some healthcare company that has several different specialists and clinicians under your roof, you don't want to have to deal with one software that's only for cardiologists, ones that's only for neurologists, and all these different specialties. Like, you want a software that works across all of them so you don't have to deal with any headaches later, which makes sense. And I think the hospitals and other big players in the healthcare space have taken note of. But a little bit more on how Abridge differentiates itself. They have this cool linked evidence feature that enhances the review process by linking each AI generated sentence to its source within the recorded conversation, essentially just allowing for the review process to be more efficient and also just maintaining accuracy. So obviously, especially if parents have accents or there's loud background noise or something, it's not always going to be a perfect 100% match. And
Right.
with this, it allows you to basically visually trace like where the transcription came from. And I imagine it'll improve over time to adjust to a South African accent, for example.
Yeah. Hey, that's a pretty easy one as compared to others.
I agree.
You might be biased. But yeah, it just quickly reminds me a little bit of Perplexity, which many may know, and we covered certainly, in that their differentiator in the LLM, what I'll call kind of typical AI space is linking sources, and that being, a great research tool, the sources for each component of the result. Reminds me a little bit of that. Not entirely the same, but worth mentioning.
Yeah, no, I see it. That's a good point. And so just to round up here on Abridge, we're going to talk about some traction and future plans. So basically, since early 2024, Abridge has gained notable traction. Interestingly enough, the company, as I mentioned, was actually founded in 2019. So slightly before the big ChatGPT, OpenAI boom that became the darling of every venture capital firm under the sun. So they've been at this essentially and had a little bit of a first mover advantage compared to most of the competitors. But this year in particular, they've announced new health system partnerships nearly every week of 2024. So they have been seeing explosive growth in their customer base. And with this funding, Abridge aims to expand their product capabilities and continue to develop those AI models to stay ahead of the competition in the healthcare AI space. Now, I do want to take one moment here to riff with you, partner, because this is an amazing company and has clearly gotten the attention of many, right, with the huge round that they're raising and the valuation blowing up. That said, I feel like the commonality amongst all of these clinician documentation AI startups that we've covered, one of the biggest hurdles is just protecting super private, confidential information, right? Like in these patient-doctor conversations. We didn't look too far under the hood. I don't think there's too much available to that end. But, seems like Abridge has maybe found something that has made these large healthcare providers comfortable with employing their technology. But that always seems to be a little bit of a mental, if not bigger, hurdle that all of these AI transcription note-taking platforms seem to have to cross at some point.
Yeah, and I don't know that we could comment based on the information we found, like you said, but to bring it back to another AI company we covered in Cohere, one of, I would say, ChatGPT and Perplexity's competitors, their focus and their differentiator is that data privacy element in working with large enterprises. It's a huge concern. And it gets even bigger the concern gets bigger when it's that confidential patient data and information. So it's a good point. I'd be curious to know their pitch. Maybe that's something they're holding a little bit closer to the chest and not putting that in their press release and whatnot. So it's certainly a huge component.
Yeah. Realistically, it's probably part of their competitive moat amongst the other differentiators that we mentioned, but these investors wouldn't be pouring in hundreds of millions of dollars. We're not the first ones to ask about this, I'm sure. So seemingly they've done something right here to be enticing all these new health partnerships at a high velocity.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So another cool one in AI. And I feel like there was a while where we weren't covering 2 AI companies per episode or sometimes it was 1 or sometimes 0, but it's been a while since we were in the saddle. So Had to choose a
Yeah.
couple of the exciting high dollar ones for you guys.
Yeah, come on. Plus, this is two Elad Gil companies. That's a Pillfolio first, I can say confidently.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess he's climbing up the ranks for the next award show.
Yeah, it's just in time. He knows he's got some ground to make up.
Yep. Well, rounding out this week's dose, we're going to talk about Joby, which just announced an additional $500 million in funding from Toyota. Now, this investment will be made in 2 equal tranches as cash for common stock, the first coming later this year with the second closing in 2025. Toyota actually initially invested $394 million way back in 2020, so they are more than doubling down. And we should note this is a little outside of our normal realm of VC rounds, private companies we typically cover, but it was too cool not to dig into. So let's get into it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm glad we covered this one, partner. We're here to teach. We're here to learn too. So we're going to teach as much as we've learned about this niche company that we're covering, a little outside of our typical scope. So Joby Aviation, founded way back in 2009 by JoBen Beavert, has been developing eVTOL, which, as you mentioned in the intro, stands for Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing. So eVTOL aircraft for over a decade. They gained visibility after acquiring Uber's Elevate program back in 2020 and merging with reInvent technology partners to actually go public. And so Joby unveiled its 5-seat air taxi helicopter at Grand Central Station, just a couple blocks down the road here in New York City, which can reach speeds of up to 200 miles per hour with a range of 100 miles and a payload capacity of 1,000 pounds. The air taxi actually made a flight around Manhattan in 2023, serving to familiarize, let's say, New Yorkers with the concept of air taxis. Now, you can imagine the reaction of the average New York pedestrian looking up in the sky and seeing an air taxi circling around. I'm sure it was comedy, but super cool company. And if you click on their website, which we'll link in the show notes, you get a quick visualization on what they're working on, and it is awesome. So again, I'm glad we're covering
that visual of like looking in the sky. It makes me wonder, like, how the heck do you hail an air taxi?
Yeah. I think you launch a flare, maybe.
Yeah. That's funny. No, but really cool. And the partnerships they have are making this as real can be, and soon. So the CEO of Uber envisions a seamless transportation experience for New Yorkers. So I don't think there will be any hailing involved. I'm sure you just order it on the Uber app.
I don't know. Imagine like some competitive upstreaming of hailing these cabs like you see on the streets in New York. That'd be amazing.
Or you actually just hail it from your building window or the roof.
True. Flash a bat symbol type of thing.
Yeah. Gosh, they need to hire us on for the creative. At least for an ad campaign, that could actually be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But imagine summoning an air taxi on your Uber app to JFK, reducing travel time from what would normally be an hour or in that range, much higher, I'm sure, at some points in the day, to just 7 minutes. Imagine that.
Wow. I mean, there's so much to imagine there, but that's incredible. I wonder how far. I guess this company's helping make it sooner, but that feels so futuristic and far away.
It certainly does.
But I love the idea.
It's partnerships like this that are helping make it a reality, right? Like I was saying, they're also partnering with Delta Airlines. So, these companies see the future. How soon it becomes a reality for, everyday use by regular people like you and me, we'll see. It's going to require some big steps here coming soon with this funding.
Mm-hmm. So that you mentioned they have some other key partnerships, like their partnership with Delta, which they inked back in 2022. And so this new round of funding will support a couple different initiatives. First off, completion of the Type 2 certification process with the Federal Aviation Administration, the good old friends at the FAA. Additionally, they will be continuing commercial production of electric vertical takeoff and landing eVTOL aircraft. They actually recently rolled out their third aircraft from the pilot production line in Marina, California, so on the other side of the country. And the company is expanding its manufacturing facility to more than double its production capabilities. And this, this kind of echoes vaguely like some of those space aircraft, lower Earth orbit companies that we've covered, where they're starting like very slow, just getting a proof of concept, talking about being able to have a payload of this much. Obviously, that's in outer space. This is just in the sky. But, starting slow, and then as they see a little bit more interest and continue to grow, expanding their production capabilities to eventually match what they assume and predict will be big demand.
Yeah, I wonder what the cost structure of that process looks like today and what they predict that would be at scale. Obviously, that's going to be key. I mean, judging by the almost $1 billion raised from Toyota, it's capital intensive. They're going to get that rolling and get through those stages of approval. They're currently in the 4th of 5 stages of the certification process, aiming to launch commercial operations in 2025. So we are closer than we might think. And you know what? By the same token, we're seeing Waymo vehicles going around, Tesla full self-drive. We're here. The future is now. So it's not that crazy to think that we're going to have essentially flying cars or electric helicopter taxis, which is insane.
That is crazy. What a time to be alive, man. That is unbelievable.
Yeah. So I assume they're starting in New York. And now we have something to say to these billionaire penthouse owners that have their fancy planes and helicopters. So what about us? Yeah, it's not going to be so cool and exclusive anymore.
Yeah, we can flip them off when we're next to each other on the air in the air highways.
Oh, that's
crazy. This is incredible. This is, flying cars has been a concept of the future since Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, like 40 years ago or something like that. And to actually be seeing pretty much since the dawn of time. And so to be seeing a company being 4 out of 5 steps in the certification process and intending to launch in 2025. And I'm sure there are a couple other competitors in the space, but this is awesome, man. I'm really excited. Again, I'm just imagining like the average New Yorker looking up at the sky and seeing a couple flying taxis. But This is awesome. A great way to round out this week's dose. A super innovative, interesting, pretty hard to not be interested or fascinated with this one.
Yep. And a good way to get back in the swing of things with the Pill With You partner. I know we've had a lot going on and appreciate the Pilgrims' understanding, patience, and we're excited to keep things rolling, just making it work with us. And obviously a lot going on over there in New York and here in Chicago on my side of things, but excited to keep covering the coolest companies out there. Well, let's wrap this one up. Thanks again to the Pilgrims for listening. Take a look at these awesome companies in the show notes, and we'll catch you guys next week. Or, dang it. And we'll catch you guys next time.
That's some muscle memory. That'll be hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Pilgrims, as always, and we'll catch you next time. Y'all take care now.
You hear?
You heard.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another dose of startups and venture capital. And as always, we appreciate our pilgrims spreading the word about the show. Share with your friends and help someone else make the pilgrimage. See you next time.
She told me that she only bumps my music when she's lonely. Thinks my vibe's a little low-key, okie dokie, that's alright, but wait, I don't know how to do